Call the meeting to order. 7:33. Thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to start with trustee roll call. Christie?
Here.
John?
Here.
Cheryl is absent. Sharon here. Sonia?
Here.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
I move to approve this evening's agenda.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I think everyone has been to a meeting before, so I won't spend a lot of time on our meeting norms and procedural guidelines. So we'll move right on to our public comment on items not on the agenda. Just one? Okay.
So I think you're probably gonna go over some of this stuff, and I was talking to John just ahead of time. But my question was, what's the holdup on the lease? And he said there's a whole bunch of mechanics that you're gonna go over what is required. But also just wanted to know what the process is for dropping Prop 39, which I have no idea, which I don't think is on the agenda, but you probably know a little bit more. So that's pretty much it.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Any more public comment before I close it? Okay. I'll move on to our next agenda item. Yeah, we do have a facilities conversation first. School director report.
That's me. First thing, we just had our readathon on Friday.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
Super fun.
It was a lot of fun. Fundraising isn't always the fun aspect of my job, but that was fun. I think is helpful to Susie and Laura and
Thank you.
Miss Jane
Yeah.
kind of put it together, and in a matter of just over a week, we raised $30,000.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I was really impressed,
Wow.
I gotta say.
Well, wider reach.
yeah. It was like
Yeah.
$35 here, $35 there.
Yeah, much
I think the
wider.
average is like $40.
44. Yeah.
$44.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
So
That is
and
really amazing.
aunts, uncles, grandmas,
Well, that's the thing, we can't keep asking the parents for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, or-
college roommates,
Yeah.
ex-husbands. Yeah. So it's kind of gonna shape our fundraising for years to come. Just kind of as some background, our fundraising, I guess, scheme was devised by parents 2 years ago as the school's opening, with the idea that they're tired of being asked 50 different ways over the school year for money, with readathons or jogathons and dance parties and the PTA. So they said, let's just tell parents this is what our need is and just donate what you can. And what we found is that just doesn't really work. There's a reason why schools have done it through these varied different approaches, and so that's what we realized a few months ago, that we're just gonna have to do that. But I think it's a good way of doing it. The kids generally seem to be having a lot of fun. They're guest readers in different classes, the other thing I want to bring up is our enrollment's just same and steady. It's the same as we had our last board meeting, which is to be expected. It's not the time of year when new kids generally come to school, so we're 173 kids. And that is all that's on my mind, unless you guys have any questions or thoughts on anything else.
I also like to thank everyone who's worked so hard on the readathon.
Yeah, we also have the online auction, it's still going. So if you want a nice spice basket,
Anyone have a number of things? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
When does that close, Sharon?
On Sunday. Sunday at
When
noon.
get the word out?
Yeah. Okay, board and staff information updates. Does anyone on the board or staff have any other updates?
I want to tell people about the inquiry
Yeah, I was just thinking about
presentations
that.
coming up.
I don't have all the dates, but all of us are sort of wrapping up our inquiry arcs in the next couple of weeks. Do you remember the K1 and the Q3 dates?
They're the, what day is your?
Oh, 30th or
30th.
31st or something like that. It's
Yeah.
when we're away at Walker Creek,
Yeah.
that's why it's not in my head. And I don't exactly know the details of what they're doing. Do you
Well, the
know?
K1 classes, they are doing the medieval,
Oh, yeah.
fair.
We jousting in the
There will
hallway.
be, yeah, so it'll be completely safe for kids jousting in the hallway, but the theme of the year this year has been community in the K1 classes, so everything they've been doing is through the sense of community, so for the medieval ages, they're learning about the community that was developed at that time. I know my son is going to be represented as a farmer, which is good, cause that's basically all my lineage and my family's poor farmers. So he'll be a farmer, but they're gonna take on different roles, and for those of you who are around for the map days, it's gonna be similar to what people saw from map.
Is it gonna be in their classrooms here?
And in the hallway,
Literally jousting.
yeah. And then 2-3, they've been studying the oceans, and they are, I'm drawing a blank. They are going to be,
Oh, they've been, I think focusing on like plastics
Yes.
pollution.
and the kids in both classes have brought up because right now they're studying the interdependence between humans and the ocean, and in this class and that class, because you can never go, no, it can go different ways in different classes, they've been picking up on plastic pollution, so they wanna educate the community on plastics, single-use plastics in particular, and pollution. So they have some pretty cool ideas and
Mhm.
things that they're doing, particularly about talking to local businesses and keeping it local and things.
My daughter has implemented many changes around plastics around our house.
Yeah. And that also is very similar to what the 4-5 classes are doing around water. And it's really cool to see that they're studying different things, but,
They kinda came together on that one,
Mhm.
yeah, some classes.
so you can talk about what the 4-5 classes are
So,
doing.
yeah, we've been doing water and everything, you've probably been hearing about it, cause it's been going on for, it's a 10-week unit, it's a long time, but, we have gone in different directions. So Katie's class is doing this whole thing about mushrooms and how mushrooms actually can clean water, which is kind of amazing and interesting. And Nina's class has really gotten into sort of plastics and pollution in water, you know, how that impacts ocean life and whatever. And my class has kind of gone in two directions. One of them is wanting to have wells, raise money to build wells in Africa. And then the other is using less water with landscaping. And so, you know, like for example, my kids designed a water bottle and they came in today, it was so exciting. They ordered all these water bottles and then we're gonna sell them and make money. And they also got some free,
And what's the money going to?
to wells, wells in Africa. And then some seeds of native plants, and they're gonna sell the seed packets. They're designing the packet, what the packet will look like, a label to put on the packet, and making posters and everything. And so our expo is gonna be sort of out in the world more. And instead of being here where people come in, we're gonna be at the Fairfax Farmers Market a week from Wednesday, the 22nd. And so the kids are taking shifts and they're gonna be there selling their stuff and trying to raise money, and yeah, they're pretty excited about it. Fun.
Very exciting.
I'm happy it's taking the angle of service now
Yeah.
with the projects and the 2-3 and the 4-5 classes, which is where I hoped it would go.
Yeah, we kind of set that intention early on, like, you know, okay, there's this problem of, you know, water, clean water, and, you know, whatever on earth, and what can we do about it, you know, instead of feeling overwhelmed and, oh no, what world am I gonna inherit, you know, what, you know, it's terrible out there, of just going, well, what can we do? What project can we do? So, it's good.
Okay, anyone else? I'll look forward to those presentations. Next item on our agenda is our proposal for English Language Arts Professional Development. And I don't know.
We got the,
And the presentation.
Oh,
of
did I
data.
skip over some? Maybe I have the old agenda. Oh, yeah, I skipped over it right there. Presentation of data on learning progress. So I know you put together a
yes,
PowerPoint.
I have the wrong agenda. I got mine from this time in 2008. So we're gonna have to dim
No race until.
dim the lights.
Until what?
Well, there's no dimming here, it's just off.
So I'll get my closest one.
Yes. so. As long as we just give it a chance, right?
Like a little brick
So people
or
can
a
get
water
in.
bottle or something.
Alright. So as promised, I'm presenting to you an update on our academic program through the lens of our English language arts reading levels. So what we do as a staff is 3 times a year in all classes, the kids are assessed for their reading levels. This is in the fall, early spring, and the end of the year. The teachers have been using the Fontes and Pinnell benchmark to do so. This is through a reading assessment, and this is documented in 2 ways. One, it's on report cards, so when parents see the report cards for their kids, they see their reading level. And there should be a key on the report card that shows what that means for a kid and where they are, where we expect them to be as far as a benchmark. And we also collate and share these scores together on a document. And so here's a little screenshot of one section of that document. So you can see that reading levels were taken in November, and again in March, and then again in June. And so the benchmark for this grade level is J. Chris's J is that,
What's that?
is that 2nd grade, 3rd grade?
Yeah, that's around second, yeah.
So that's the benchmark for this time of the year. And so you can see what we have is, it's color coded. So kids who kind of are near or at the benchmark are in this yellow, and kids who are below it are in red, and then kids who are above it are in green. So you can see over time, this is the same group of kids. So these are kids from last year.
Can you define what J or what benchmark means? Like I have no idea what I'm looking at. It just,
In a bit.
okay.
So you can see that as the benchmark level increases, as the expectations get higher, then the kids are expected to move along with that. And so what we see is the kids are, in this snapshot at least, they're moving along and actually improving. Not all kids. We have this group of 3 kids right here who are staying below standard. But we also have this group of kids that are moving up.
Can I just, before you change slides, I just
Yeah.
wanna point something out. If you look at that top kid, the general expectation is with each new reporting period, they'll go about a 1 level.
One letter.
Yeah. So that top kid started at level B, was way below grade level, and in, 4 months or whatever went C, D, E, 3 levels. That's a 1 year's worth of growth in like 3 months or whatever. December, January. Yeah. So that's a huge improvement. And then leveled off, of course, E to F, that's kind of more expected growth. But you'll see I'm sure you'll talk about this later,
Yeah.
but it's not always steady progress. Like these ones in the middle, it's like, oh, okay, they're all sort of like at grade level, they're going up, but sometimes they make huge leaps and sometimes they really plateau for a while.
And what we would really need to see is from the kids who are in this red level is that they need to be moving more than 1 letter ahead each trimester. They need to be making jumps from time to time in order to eventually be at grade level or beyond. So the reason we do this is for a few reasons. One, it's just you can capture a moment in time and see where kids are at different times of the year. We can also see growth for kids over the period of the year. And we can also use this for helping us to see where we need to provide support for kids. So by taking this data, collecting it, analyzing it, we can see that, you know, there's this kid right here, I know who this kid is specifically, that, oh, we knew that this kid needed support and is getting support, and that's why they're making these jumps. So if we have this data, we're better able to do it. Rather, without the data, we're going on intuition, which sometimes is helpful, but not always.
You know, can I just point out, just
Yeah.
noticed somebody brought that. If you look between November and March both years, that's when they made all their growth. It's just fascinating, you know, that's when they're getting the most intense help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
And then from March to June, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, there's state testing and all these other things.
In summer, there's often nothing happens.
Yeah. So yeah, F at the end of the year, and then they had the long summer, and then they had end of August, September, October, and then they're assessed in November, that they just went up one level. So I'm not saying we should have year-round school. But. So I took the data for all of our kids and put it on this graph, and you can see that these are both, this is first grade from this school year. So this is first grade in the fall and first grade in the spring. Second grade in the fall, second grade in spring, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. So there are a few things that you can get from seeing this. If you just look at the difference between first grade and then jump all the way to fifth grade, so you can see that in first grade we have a lot more kids who are below standard. And if you look at fifth grade, we have a lot more kids who are above standard. And what's the intuitive reason why this might be?
How long they've been in school.
Yeah, how long they've been in school, and also, and some people are probably sick of hearing me say this, but growth in the younger grades is very asymmetric. They're not all, you can't expect, you know, if for those of you who have 2 kids, you know that kids grow at different rates. And you may have a 3-year-old who's reading, and that's fine, and you may have a 6-year-old who's just starting to get around to learning to read. And that is natural. It's very natural for growth, particularly at the younger ages and grades, to be asymmetric. So these are kids who are just entering, this is their second year of school. Growth is happening in fits and spurts. And then you can see, in general, not always, in general, it's kind of increases over time. Another thing you can see is that we have gaps here. So this means we have new first graders coming in. And sometimes when we get first graders coming in, like we've had a decent number of fourth graders coming in, and a few of them came from a Waldorf program. So Waldorf, there's a different emphasis on reading. Same in 5th grade, same in 2nd grade. So we had kids coming in midway through the year, and they're coming in at a different reading level. And we've had a decent number of our percentage of our kids have come from Waldorf programs, but over time, with support and exposure, they move along. So kind of summarize some of that data here. You can see that we have a higher percentage of our students in 5th grade who are above standard. Our students who come in mid-year are almost always come in below level in their reading expectations. Most of our students are growing at least 1 reading level from the fall to the spring. Some are growing more. There are others who are stagnating. And for most kids, scores are relatively steady over the year. They move steady along from one level to the next. Not all kids. And our 2nd and 4th graders, I would take from this, can and need some of the most support. If we have this high percentage of kids who are coming in below reading levels. Then I took the English language learners out and just looked at them separately. And looked to see just the percentage of kids who were reading below, at, or above. And this is around 82% of our English language learners are reading below the expected level in the fall, and about 9% above and 9% at level. The good thing is that we have all the kids who are at reading level moved up into above, and some of the kids who are below reading level moved up. But we still have a decent number of kids as a whole school who are English language learners who are below. And that is understandable by the nature of them being English language learners. But there's also something for us to be specifically aware of. You know, it's steady, like I said earlier, steady growth is not enough for kids who are low. They need extra support in order to make those gains. So as kids move on and curriculum and expectations become more demanding as they enter middle school and high school, we'll want to make sure that they're prepared. So we need to kind of give them that support to help them leapfrog levels. There's Miss Katie in her readathon. And there's our one of our reading dogs. The one thing I want to talk about is we try to create a strong culture of reading here. I've never been at a school where reading is really seen as cool and pervasive as it is here. We have a reading dog program, just the readathon, just seeing how much the kids enjoyed reading. At my home, my kids are in the morning. They won't get out of bed, but they're in bed reading books, which I wouldn't have been caught. I loved reading, but you wouldn't have caught me. Which I think is really cool. That's also part of what we do. We've also done things like get grants. We have a grant for an after-school reading program to reach our English language learners and low-income learners and get free tutoring. But I just want to give you a sense of where we're at, what things look like, and also ask if you have any questions.
I do.
Yes.
Do you also have some kind of assessment results for kindergartners as well?
We do have assessment results for kindergartners, but they're it's statistically, because you have at the beginning of kindergarten, most kindergartners aren't reading at all.
Yeah.
So the bar graph doesn't exist. I can share that with you.
Isn't there some kind of like a readiness assessment though? Like you could test their knowledge of, I don't know what it is,
Letter
letters
sounds
and
Yes.
Yeah.
sounds,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that just didn't fit well in this. So I can get that for you.
Yeah, how does it look, like, I assume you can break it out roughly between below expectations, on grade level, or above,
Yes.
kind of how does it fall in the next?
I haven't done it like this.
Okay.
So when you see a taller column like this, that means that
There's
that
more
many more
kids.
students came mid-year between the two tests.
Yeah.
And it could be that there's different students in there too, if somebody left and you got 3 new students or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you know, when kids, here's, like, this kid wasn't here until mid-year, so they weren't assessed at the beginning of the year.
And so can you explain the letter scaling system for anyone who's not familiar with that so that they
I'll
understand?
pass that over to Chris.
Well, so this is the Fontes and Pinnell sort of grade level system. So, you know, the at grade level, the yellow one, it was like the skinniest of those, of the bar graph. That's because it's one letter out of, 26. So the chances that they're actually at that exact level that's considered benchmark, like up at the top there, you'll see the benchmark. I'm assuming this is 2nd grade, right?
Yes.
So the November benchmark for grade being at grade level is J, and then in March it's K, and June it's L. And then the
Whereas
next
the
year,
color banding here is a little different than this one. This one is just, these are the kids who are at
right,
level expectation. This one is the kids who are at or just below or just above.
Right, sort of a range.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're, like I said, there's, first grade's different because they do a lot of levels in first grade, but I think starting in second grade, there's pretty much expected to do one level every,
Every
that's
trimester.
broken into like 3 trimesters, yeah, so each time, expected grade level progress is to go, 1. And some kids actually kind of do that, I keep going, whoa, they're ready grade level again, whoa, they just exactly grade level. But sometimes there'll be a big jump, and those are 2 or 3 grade levels, or levels, between times that we assess them, and sometimes they really do. I had somebody who level all year long in 4th grade, and it was like, and I was working with this child and whatever, and then in 5th grade, zoop, so they don't, it's just not always even progress, steady progress.
Yeah, you can use my son as an example. When he started second grade, he was barely reading in
Same with my
second grade.
kids.
And now he's in 3rd grade and he's somewhere on
Same.
this end of the chart.
They just weren't ready.
Yeah.
They didn't have the interest and then zoomed right up.
Yeah.
And I find as a 4th and 5th grade teacher that by the time most kids get to me in 4th grade, most of them are at or above
Can you check
grade
that
level.
away?
And then there's usually a few, 2 or 3 or something that are below. And I always feel like I can say with pretty good confidence to the parents, they might be below now, but they're not gonna be in 5th grade. I would really, really work with those kids that are below or just at and push and push and push them. And most of the kids by the time they leave are above. Cause by 4th grade, it's evened out some. You don't have that like, kids not ready, not ready, not ready.
It's less asymmetric.
Yeah, it's a little bit more predictable, and there's also, there's some kids that just sort of click in between 4th and 5th grade. It just sort of like, it starts to all come together. It's probably a brain development thing, but I do often see like, okay, they're taking off now, they're ready to go, they become much more independent, their comprehension is much better, and, yeah. So the way, I just have one more thing. So the way we do the levels, we're looking at their fluency, their decoding skills. Like you have to be at 95% accuracy or above, and then so decoding and comprehension. Yeah. So they understand they have to answer questions. So it's and we sit with each child every time we do this. So 3 times a year, we're going through every single kid, and with some kids, if they really start making great progress, we might have to sit with them several times to go, oh, you're totally there, that's awesome, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna try you on another level, let's try it. And so it can take hours and hours to do this, which is great because you've got good information, but it's also a little frustrating because during that time, we're not doing any teaching because we're really needing to spend hours of just like, okay, you guys go read independently, I'm taking 1 kid at a time, and I'm doing this assessing. But it's important information.
Can you go to the other one, the bar graph? So you had said, like, it's clear here on, like, on the 2nd, 4th grade, they need more help. Do you think that is just a function of the group of kids in there, or you think there's something about 2nd and 4th grade that?
It's a function of the group of kids.
Okay.
This
Okay.
has been something that's been tracking.
Okay, so if we see next year, it'll be the 3rd and the 5th graders.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of those kids are new this year,
Okay.
and both in math and language arts, there's a group of really little kids that started this year,
Okay.
yeah. They're making
And you-
progress.
Yeah, well, and you can
Because see in
see there's a
second grade-
big difference in 2nd grade and 4th grade, well, in 5th grade too.
But the green and the yellow bands are about the same in 2nd grade, so it very well could be
Right.
that the added kids who came in were
Right,
at the right
and that's the
level.
same thing in 5th grade.
Right.
Okay.
I'm psyched to see those 3rd grades, though, they look pretty good. Coming next year.
Next year.
Have you looked at the data by number of years or months that the kid has been in the school with us?
Yes, I don't have that here, but the general trend is the longer they've been with the program, the better they are. And that was borne out last year when we looked at our state test scores as well. The kids who came from MAP, who were part of MAP, did much better than kids who were just coming into the program. And that makes sense on different levels. You're entering a new environment, new program, you have kids coming from 14 different schools. Again, there's the the Waldorf effect. We had kids who were coming in with different program, different expectations, but a lot of them over a year
Yeah, they pick it up.
pick it up. I mean, even we were talking about a kid who'd been here for a few months with math, that was what grade level math, and now is tracking
Yeah,
grade level.
I mean, just unbelievable, just picking it up like crazy, yeah.
But
Right.
catching it, giving them support.
Mhm.
Great. Any more questions or comments at the board level before I go out for public comment?
I mean, I do, I think the next questions that are obvious are like, so what do we do about this?
Yeah.
And we do have the next agenda item around some
Yeah.
professional development, but I really hope that next year, our board can have this conversation 3 times a year. Because I just feel like I'd rather have started having this conversation in the fall and then taking action on it and then checking back with you all.
Yeah.
Particularly on the support for English learners, and, you know, I'd like to see the data by low income as well, maybe that group is just equivalent, maybe it's just perfect overlap with
It's
English.
not.
Okay, so then, we really should be breaking it out by low income as well, and figuring out if they need different things. But that's the piece of, you know, I think it's a good start, but I wonder if there's more we could do, you
Yeah.
know? And particularly if we look, I think we should be breaking it out by time in the school as well. Because if there are kids, what we need to know is this all just new kid effects?
It's not all new.
If it's not, then that's like our work to do, right? Yeah.
And I think an important voice in this is Tori, who is our EL and English language learner support and intervention teacher who happens to be here.
Thank you. I saw you had your hand up.
Well, it was just a thought about the second, fourth grade piece, that is the multi-age transition year. You know, they're going from 2 years with the same teacher, I mean, the kids who have been in the program, to a new kind of, I mean, I know the switch from first to second is just by nature of that, for a lot of the kids, it takes some adjustment.
Yeah, that is part of it, but particularly we have a second and fourth grade class who, as a first and third grade class, they were tracking at the same level.
And so, when we did the very first assessment of the year and identified the students who were below, where we expected them to be, then in many cases, we jumped into interventions with them. Not necessarily in every single case, or in most of those cases, do you think we've been working with them?
Yeah, I mean, on that chart where we have, you know, it's interesting, you think you must have reconfigured it to show the green and the red.
Yeah.
Cause we had it by alphabetical by first name before, I knew it like, this one's red, we've gotta really focus on those, yeah. It's easy to.
But in showing this to teachers, that nobody's surprised, which is good to know. That I'm like, oh my God, this kid's not reading at level, or they've not been making gains. But we're gonna be diving in deeper as a staff